Let's go! We made it! What's up YouTube? Henry Chung Fitness here. As you can see, I've got my bronze medal and the finisher medal. The Toronto Sprint Triathlon, another one done, another one in the books. 2024 was my year. The first time that I got on podium as an average triathlete. Let me just say that it was quite the race and it was an awesome time. And I'm really proud of what I've achieved. So let's get into it. Going into this race, I did achieve fourth place last year in my age category. So I knew that I had to put in the work to level up and get on the podium. So that's exactly what I did. I put in a lot of work into my training for this season, and finally I did it. Going into this race, I was looking to have a decent race because I did have some stomach issues, I did have some runs, and I did have diarrhea the day before because I ate something funky on Friday. But I hopped up on electrolytes on Saturday and also stayed hydrated. I went into the race just looking forward to having a good time and doing the best that I could based on my conditions. Now heading to the island, it was a rainy one. It started raining on the ferry ride to the Toronto Island, so I was a bit worried in terms of the conditions, what we'd have at the island. It was quite rainy the day before as well, and it did pour a lot. I was worried that the bike might have been canceled because the island tends to get a lot of water on the bike path. But luckily enough, it was not canceled, so we're good to go. I got to transition area and set up my bike, and it was raining at this point as well, so it is a bit tricky setting up transition during the rain, but I always take a garbage bag and kind of put my shoes in and other items so that they kind of stay as dry as possible. I put on my wetsuit, and this time I used the full wetsuit because I figured, you know what, it's likely going to be colder. If you were in last year's Toronto Island Sprint Triathlon, you know that the water conditions were crazy cold for what we experienced. It must have been close to 11 to 12 degrees Celsius, and I was wearing the sleeveless at that time. This time I figured, you know what, the forearm restrictions, it's worth having just to keep my body warmer during the swim. This time I did find that the water was nowhere near as cold, and it was actually quite warm. I want to say it was about 21 degrees Celsius, the water. So it was great conditions in terms of temperature, but the water was so choppy. It was so windy and wavy. This was the choppiest conditions I've ever swam in for a triathlon. So it was a bit tricky. Kudos to everyone that finished the swim and tackled it. It was definitely a very difficult swim. There were times where I was bobbing up and down so much from the waves that sometimes I would see the skyline and other times I would just literally see waves. So it was pretty hectic, but I got it done. Not as quick as I wanted, but given the conditions, I got it done. I headed out to T1, and if you ran through T1, you know how sandy it is. So it is pretty difficult running in the sand. Your legs are feeling heavy, but I got into T1. Now, I did practice the running mount and dismount for the bike for the past few weeks, so I put it into practice, and this time I did get it done. I grabbed my bike, ran to the mount line, and I actually jumped on my bike. It doesn't look as cool as I thought it would look, but it was still pretty cool. I definitely shaved time off my T1 and T2. Maybe not T2, but we'll get into that. The bike course, you know, there were puddles, so I was trying to maneuver around them and just trying to stay in the aero position as much as possible and just putting the pedal to the metal. Now, I didn't put as much power as I thought, but overall my pace was faster than last year, so you know, there's progress in that regard. My Zwift cycling training has definitely paid off because I actually ended up being fourth overall on the bike segment. So I'm really happy with the results. And I finished the bike, and it was 3 laps on the island, finished the bike and got my feet out of the shoes for the dismount. After the turnaround, I got ready to dismount, and then I did the running dismount. Definitely saved some time there. Now, where I did lose some time was the bike rack. I couldn't find my bike rack. Once again, I was one rack ahead, and so I had to duck underneath the other bike rack and then get to my bike rack the bike, grab my shoes. This time I didn't wear socks for the run. I just added a lot of baby powder in my shoes, which prevents the friction and the blisters, and got on the run. Now, getting onto the run, I was starting to feel pretty gassed because it started to get quite hot on the run, but nevertheless, I put my feet down one after the other, got it done, and I charged to the finish line. Not gonna lie, this was a really hard run for me, and surprisingly, it was also, I believe, one of the fastest runs that I've had for a sprint distance, so really happy with my result. I ran for the finish line without looking back. I just didn't want to be passed by anyone towards the finish line, so I booked it. And honestly, I really need to work on my finish line face because I look terrible and I have the most gruesome face for the finish line. Something I'll be working on so that I look cool at the finish line. But nevertheless, I finished, and Shannon mentioned that I was likely in podium placing in third place. I was really happy for achieving the podium place. But not only that, I checked my watch and I shaved almost 4 minutes compared to last year, which, given the circumstances of a wet bike course along with the choppy swim, I was elated. I was so happy. I was definitely proud that I really put in the work and put in the effort on that day and for that race. And lo and behold, as the athletes trickled in, the official results came in, and sure enough, I did place third in my age group. Shout out to the first and second place in my age group. They actually ended up first and third overall. So I definitely had a very competitive field. I ended up third in my age group, men 35 to 39, and also ended up 7th overall out of about 500 or so athletes. So a really great race overall. This bronze medal, in my opinion, was well deserved. I worked hard for it, and I'm just so proud of what I've achieved and how far I've come since I've started. Just looking back to my first race in 2017, that was my very first sprint triathlon, or triathlon for that matter. And just seeing how far I've come over the years, I'm just really happy to see all the progress. All in all, from 7 years ago, from my first triathlon, I shaved about 12 minutes off my time, 4 minutes from last year. So I definitely enjoy seeing this progress, and it just makes the sport even that much more challenging, but also enjoying. Shout out also to Christian, who approached me and who recognized me from my previous Toronto Island Sprint Triathlon YouTube video. Kudos to you on your very first triathlon, and also for reaching podium and getting first in your age category. I think you'll go really far in the sport, so keep it up. Looking forward to seeing you out on the race course in the future. Overall, I just want to say it was a great race and it couldn't have gone any better. I'm just so happy with just how the day went. Really grateful for all the supporters, the crew, the people that set up the race, and for everyone that makes the race happen. Thank you so much to all of the volunteers and the workers and all the supporters that are just cheering us on. We couldn't do this without you. Huge shout out to Shannon for waking up at 5 a.m. with me to get to the island on time, and just for cheering me on and being my camera crew. We wouldn't have these awesome videos of race day without you, so thank you so much. And to all the racers who raced that day, kudos to you on your race. It's definitely very challenging, but very rewarding being out there. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you raced that day. Let me know in the comments below how your race went. And until next time, have a good one.